I bet you didn't know that the smallest mistakes in leadership can cost you your entire team. Hi, I'm Pankaj Sharma, and today we're diving deep into the hidden costs of leadership that most people never talk about. We talk a lot about leadership, about what it takes to build a successful business or a winning team. But we often focus on the grand gestures, the big strategies, the visionary speeches. What if I told you that the real fabric of leadership, the very thing that holds a team together, is actually woven in the small everyday interactions? What if the things that truly define us as leaders aren't what we do, but what we don't do? Today, we're going to explore the top 10 management mistakes to avoid, the subtle yet powerful missteps that can unravel even the strongest teams. These aren't just minor errors or simple bad habits. These are fundamental breaches of the human contract that exists between a leader and their people. They are the silent destroyers of trust, the quiet assassins of morale, and the unseen architects of a toxic work environment. When we make these mistakes, we're not just risking a project deadline or a quarterly target, we're risking the very heart of our organization, our people. Make no mistake, these mistakes could cost you your team, not because they are bad employees, but because we have failed in our primary responsibility to create an environment where they can thrive. The good news is, it doesn't have to be this way. Leadership is a journey, a constant process of learning and unlearning. By shining a light on these common pitfalls, we can become more aware, more intentional, and ultimately more effective in our roles. The goal isn't to be a perfect leader. No such person exists. The goal is to be a leader who cares enough to try, who has the courage to look inward, and who understands that the greatest asset they will ever manage is the trust and loyalty of the people who have chosen to follow them. Let's begin that journey together. It often starts from a good place, doesn't it? A desire for excellence, a commitment to quality. We want the work to be perfect, so we hover. We check in constantly, we dictate every minor step, we correct every perceived flaw before it even fully forms. We call it being hands-on or detail-oriented, but what our team hears is, "I don't trust you." Micromanagement isn't a sign of strong leadership. It's a symptom of fear. Fear of letting go, fear of failure, fear that others cannot possibly meet our standards. But in our quest for control, we achieve the opposite. We create an environment of dependence where creativity withers and initiative dies. We teach our people not to think for themselves, but to wait for our instructions. When you micromanage, you're not just managing a task, you are shrinking a person's potential. You are communicating that their judgment is invalid, their skills are insufficient, and their contribution is merely to execute your will. This erosion of trust is devastating. It stifles growth, preventing your team members from learning through their own experiences and mistakes. It breeds resentment and disengagement, turning passionate contributors into passive employees who do the bare minimum to avoid scrutiny. True leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about creating a circle of safety where your team feels trusted and empowered to find the answers themselves. It's about letting go of the reins so they can learn to run. Communication is the lifeblood of any organization, the central nervous system that connects every individual to the larger purpose. When that flow is choked, unclear, or inconsistent, the entire body begins to malfunction. Poor communication is more than just a missed email or a vague memo. It's the creation of an information vacuum, and human beings, by their very nature, will rush to fill that vacuum. They'll fill it with assumptions, with rumors, with anxiety, and with fear. When goals aren't clear, people work in different directions, wasting energy and creating friction. When feedback is absent, they operate in a fog of uncertainty, unsure if they are succeeding or failing. The consequence is a team that feels disconnected, not just from you, but from the mission itself. They don't understand the why behind their work, so the what feels meaningless. Inconsistency is particularly damaging. When you say one thing in a meeting and another in a private conversation, or when your actions contradict your words, you shatter your credibility. Trust isn't just about believing someone will do what they say, it's about believing they are who they say they are. Clear, consistent, and honest communication isn't a soft skill. It is the fundamental tool for building alignment, fostering psychological safety, and ensuring that everyone on the team is rowing in the same direction with the same purpose in their hearts. Think about the last time someone genuinely thanked you for your hard work. Not a passing thanks, but a specific, heartfelt acknowledgement of your effort and its impact. How did it make you feel? Seen, valued, motivated? Now imagine a world where that never happens. You pour energy, your creativity, and your time into your work, and your efforts are met with silence. This is the reality for too many people in the workplace. A lack of recognition is one of the most insidious mistakes a leader can make because it starves the human spirit of a fundamental need to know that we matter. It sends a clear, albeit unspoken message. Your contribution is expected, not appreciated. This isn't about handing out gold stars or superficial praise. Meaningful recognition is about connecting a person's actions to the team's success and the organization's purpose. It's about saying, because of what you did, we were able to achieve this. When we fail to do this, we create a purely transactional environment. People show up for the paycheck, not for the mission. Their discretionary effort, that extra spark of passion and commitment, vanishes. Over time, your best people, the ones who crave meaning and impact, will start looking for a place where their contributions are seen and celebrated. Recognition is not a resource to be conserved, it is fuel for the human engine. It costs nothing, yet its return is immeasurable. As leaders, we are expected to have a vision, a direction, but there's a dangerous line between confident vision and arrogant certainty. The moment we believe we have all the answers is the moment we actually stop growing. Ignoring feedback is a clear signal that we've crossed that line. When a team member summons the courage to offer a suggestion, voice a concern, or point out a flaw in our plan, they're really offering us a gift. They're demonstrating their engagement and their trust. They're saying, I care enough about our success to risk being vulnerable. When we dismiss that feedback, whether it's through defensiveness, impatience, or outright rejection, we're not just rejecting an idea. We are rejecting the person. The message we send is devastatingly clear. Your perspective doesn't matter. Your experience is irrelevant. Only my voice counts here. The first time it happens, they might be disappointed. The second time, they'll party to come hesitant. After the third time, they will simply stop trying. They will retreat into silence, bringing their bodies to work but leaving their minds and hearts at home. You will have successfully created a team of compliant followers instead of engaged partners. Great leaders don't just tolerate feedback, they actively seek it out. They understand that the people on the front lines have a perspective they can't possibly have, and that listening is not a sign of weakness, but the ultimate expression of strength and respect. Imagine being told to pack for a trip, but you're not told the destination. Do you pack for the beach or the mountains? For a weekend or a month? The anxiety and confusion you'd feel is exactly what a team experiences when their leader fails to set clear, compelling goals. Without a defined destination, every step is uncertain. People don't know what to prioritize, how to measure success, or how their individual work contributes to the bigger picture. They are lost in a sea of tasks with no North Star to guide them. This ambiguity is a breeding ground for confusion, wasted effort, and plummeting morale. People become busy but not productive. A leader's job is not just to tell people what to do, but to paint a vivid picture of where they are going and, most importantly, why it matters. A clear goal is more than a metric on a spreadsheet. It is a shared cause that unites the team. It provides context for their daily work and gives it meaning. When people understand the objective, they can begin to innovate, problem solve, and make autonomous decisions that are aligned with the mission. They don't need to be micromanaged because they share the same definition of success as you do. Setting clear goals isn't about creating a rigid plan. It's about providing a clear destination so that the team can collectively and creatively figure out the best way to get there. When we hire someone, we make an implicit promise. We promise them not just a job, but an opportunity to contribute, to learn, and to grow. Neglecting the professional development of your team is a fundamental breach of that promise. It's like a gardener who plants a seed but refuses to water it or provide sunlight. To not support development is to communicate a stark message. I value what you can do for me right now, but I have no investment in who you could become tomorrow. This short-sightedness is not only a disservice to the individual, it is a profound strategic failure for the organization. People, especially the most ambitious and talented ones, have an innate desire to learn and improve. If they don't find opportunities for growth within your team, they will inevitably seek them elsewhere. Stagnation is the enemy of engagement. By failing to provide training, mentorship, or new challenges, you are essentially encouraging your best people to update their resumes. Supporting development isn't just about sending people to a conference once a year. It's about having ongoing conversations about their aspirations, delegating tasks that stretch their abilities, and creating a culture where learning is seen as a core part of the job. When you invest in your people's growth, you are not just building their skills, you are building their loyalty. You are creating a team that is not only more capable, but also more committed to your shared future. There is almost nothing that can poison a team's culture faster than the perception of favoritism. It strikes at the very heart of fairness, a concept we are wired to care about deeply from a young age. When a leader consistently gives the best assignments, the most praise, or the most lenient treatment to a select individual or in-group, they are destroying the psychological safety of everyone else. The message is, well, painfully obvious. The rules are different for different people. Merit, hard work, and results don't matter as much as being in the leader's good graces. This creates a deeply toxic and political environment where a team's energy shifts away from collaboration and performance. Instead of focusing on the collective goal, people start focusing on jockeying for the leader's attention. Resentment brews, cliques form, and communication breaks down. The outgroup becomes disengaged, knowing that their efforts will likely go unrecognized, while the favorite is often isolated by the resentment of their peers. It's a lose-lose situation. True leadership requires impartiality. It demands that we evaluate people based on their character and their contribution, not on our personal comfort or connection with them. Building a cohesive team means creating a level playing field where everyone knows they have an equal opportunity to succeed and be valued. Anything less is not leadership, it's the creation of a court with all the division and backstabbing that implies. A conflict between team members, a pattern of underperformance, a breach of team values. These situations are honestly uncomfortable. They are emotionally charged and, well, unpredictable. The human instinct is often to avoid them, to hope they resolve themselves, to put them off until tomorrow. But leaders who consistently avoid difficult conversations are not preventing problems. They are nurturing them. They are allowing small issues to fester and grow in the dark, like mold, until they become toxic and systemic. By avoiding the conversation, you are abdicating your responsibility as a leader and sending a message that you are unwilling to uphold the standards of the team. This avoidance erodes trust in two ways. First, The team members involved in the conflict or issue feel unseen and unsupported. They see the problem, they know you see the problem, and your silence is frankly deafening. Second, the rest of the team sees that standards and accountability are optional. This creates an environment of uncertainty and permissiveness where problems multiply. Having a difficult conversation is an act of courage and care. It says, I care enough about you, about this team, and about our mission to step into this discomfort with you. It's not about being confrontational. It's about being clear, honest, and committed to finding a resolution. The monster under the bed only gets scarier the longer you pretend it isn't there. The world we operate in is constantly changing. Markets shift, technologies evolve, and personal circumstances change. A leader who insists on rigid adherence to outdated processes, who refuses to consider new ways of working, or who shows no empathy for the human need of their team is building a cage, not a culture. Inflexibility, often disguised as maintaining standards or following procedure, is a barrier to both innovation and humanity. It communicates a lack of trust in your team's judgment and an inability to adapt to reality. When a team member proposes a better, more efficient way to do something, and the answer is because that's how we've always done it, you have just killed a spark of initiative. This rigidity is particularly damaging when it comes to people's lives outside of work. A team member may need a flexible schedule to care for a child or an aging parent. A purely rigid stance that makes no room for such human realities tells them that the organization sees them as a cog in a machine, not as a whole person. In today's world, the most talented people value autonomy and flexibility. They want to be treated like adults who can manage their own time and responsibilities. By being unnecessarily rigid, you not only demotivate your current team, but you also make it impossible to attract new talent. True strength in leadership is not found in rigidity, but in adaptability. The ability to hold firm to your purpose while being flexible in your approach. Of all the mistakes a leader can make, this may be the most profound because it invalidates everything else. You can have the most inspiring vision, the clearest goals, and the most eloquent speeches, but if your actions do not align with your words, you have nothing. When you ask for punctuality but consistently arrive late, when you preach a healthy work-life balance while sending emails at midnight, when you demand transparency but are secretive in your own dealings, you are not just being a hypocrite, you are demonstrating to your team that the values you espouse are merely tools for controlling others, not principles by which you are willing to live. This is the fastest way to obliterate trust and respect. People don't listen to what you say as much as they watch what you do. Your behavior sets the true standard for the team. It defines the culture. If you model accountability, your team will be accountable. If you model respect, your team will be respectful. If you model integrity, your team will act with integrity. Leadership is not a position or a title. It is a choice. It is the choice to put the needs of others before your own. Leading by example is the ultimate expression of that choice. It is the act of living the change you wish to see in your team. It is the only way to earn the kind of authentic, deep-seated loyalty that cannot be commanded, only inspired. We've just walked through 10 of the most common and most damaging mistakes in management. From the control of micromanagement to the hypocrisy of not leading by example, each one represents a failure to honor the human element of leadership. They are the shortcuts and self-protections that ultimately lead to a dead end, costing us the trust, engagement, and loyalty of the very people we need most. But seeing these pitfalls isn't about inducing guilt or fear. It's about empowerment. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in every interaction, every decision, every single day. We have the choice to build people up or to shrink their potential. The journey to becoming a better leader doesn't require a grand revolutionary act. It begins with the small conscious decision to avoid these mistakes. It begins with choosing to listen instead of talk, to trust instead of control, to recognize instead of ignore, and to model the behavior you expect. When you consistently avoid these mistakes to build a stronger, more loyal team, you are doing more than just improving performance metrics. You are creating an environment, a circle of safety where people feel valued, seen, and inspired to bring the best version of themselves to work every day. This is the true work of leadership. So the question isn't whether you've made these mistakes in the past. We all have. The question is, what will you do tomorrow? What is the one thing, the one small change you can commit to right now? Don't wait for a new title or a bigger office. The opportunity to lead is right in front of you with the team you have now. Start leading better today. Choose to be the leader that you would want to follow, the leader your team deserves. Thank you for joining me on this journey.